Good evening. I'm Dr. Francis J. Kelly with the Archbishop Michael J. Curley Assembly, Knights of Columbus, here in Prince George's County, Maryland. We and the St. John de Matha Council, Knights of Columbus, are bringing you this television program today entitled Eugenics, the Modern Threat. We have with us today two experts on the problem of eugenics, Kathie O'Keefe, the author of Crypto-Eugenics, and Samuel Adewusi, a Nigerian and a member of the Information Project for Africa. Kathie, how did you get interested in the problem of eugenics?
I was traveling in Europe. I was opposing abortion, and I was doing rescues in Europe. I looked into the ownership of the abortion clinics, and I found that the abortion clinics were owned by a very small group of people, and I simply realized they must be linked in some way. And after research, I discovered that there was a group called the Eugenics Society in England, that it exists now in 1991, and that the people who owned the abortion clinics were members of this society and supported and sustained by this society. And then I looked at the other members of the society, and I looked into what they were doing, and I found that they were behind euthanasia. I found that they were behind sex education. I found that they were behind dangerous contraceptives. I found that they were behind voluntary and involuntary sterilization. I found that a lot of things like that, and I began to realize that since they still exist now, that people should be alerted to the danger which they represent.
And the question is, people will be wondering who are the eugenics, or what is eugenics?
What is eugenics?
Yes.
Well, the simplest way to put it is eugenics is the philosophy of Hitler. It's the philosophy that there's a master race, and it's the philosophy that other races or other groups should be eliminated to prepare the way for this master race or this master group. Present-day eugenics thinks of a master group. In the time of Hitler, his idea was that the Germans were the master race, and that the Jews were so inferior that they should be killed right away, and that the Poles were equally inferior, but that they should be killed more slowly, and that the people inside Germany, the Germans themselves, who were suffering from hereditary defects, and that the insane should be killed, and he had a program whereby he began by killing the insane. He trained people and brutalized them in the methods of killing, and the same people who killed the German insane are the people who killed the Jews in the camps.
Another question, isn't that an old history that happened in 1945?
Yeah. That's what people say to me sometimes, that terrible as it was, that at least we got rid of it. But this isn't really what happened. What happened is that they went underground, that they adopted a policy called crypto-eugenics. Crypto means secret, as in cryptogram. And secret eugenics means working through other groups. And the chief groups, the policy of crypto-eugenics was formally adopted at a meeting of the Eugenics Society in England in 1960. And they specifically said that they intended to work through the International Planned Parenthood Federation and the Family Planning Association of England. Now, the Family Planning Association of England is the equivalent of Planned Parenthood of America. So crypto-eugenics is working through a lot of different groups, but specifically, they themselves have mentioned International Planned Parenthood. Now, in 1991, an example of another group, which the American group is working for, is something I was talking to you about before. And I have to read this, but this is an editorial written in 1991 in the American Journal of Human Genetics, which is a well-known magazine in the field of genetics. And this is an invited editorial. So we're saying, has eugenics gone away? Did it go away with Hitler? This editorial is talking about the screening for sickle cell disease, which is a program that was passed in the late 80s. And it had a lot of support from black community groups because you can help people with sickle cell disease if you know right away that they have it. So that there was, as soon as the newborns, children were born, the idea was to screen them. And then if they had sickle cell, you could start them off with a good start in life. And that is why it was supported by black community organizations. But the American Society of Human Genetics is tainted with eugenics because it was founded by a eugenicist. And in 1991, this statement was made about this screening program, which had support from the blacks originally, and from black community groups. They were talking about the fact that if you screen for sickle cell disease, you can't just abort the children. And they felt regretful about that. This is an article by James E. Bowman. And this is an editorial in this magazine. But he said, even though you can't abort them, what you could do is refuse to support them. In other words, if people have a child with a severe genetic disease, that you could actually, instead of supporting it, refuse to support it. And these are his exact words. The Supreme Court, in the case of Dandridge versus Williams, 1970, affirmed the legality of a maximum welfare grant imposed by the state of Maryland. This regulation restricted total state aid for dependent children to a maximum of $250 per month per family, no matter how large the family. Now, and here's the significant statement. If a limitation on public support for potentially healthy children is the law of the land, an even stronger case can be made to restrict public support for children with severe genetic disorders. There are many fanciful and theoretical backdoors to eugenics, but Dandridge versus Williams is real. So you see, they're using the word in 1991 in an editorial, and what they're saying is a way to bring about eugenics, the word they use, is to simply refuse to support the people who are in the sickle cell screening program. And then he goes on to say this, a second example. Even if pregnancy screening is not mandated, indirect coercion of pregnant women by the state, insurance companies, employers, the family, or friends may be just as effective. In other words, they're going to use a state-mandated screening program to coerce women to have abortions.